Hello Stampers, welcome back to regalstamping.com for episode 5 of I Miss Your Face, an online card class. My name is Krista Thomas and I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and my goal is to keep all of us stamping during the COVID-19 isolation, and I'm trying to use products that have been best sellers for me in the hopes that many of you will already have the stamps and punches and dies that you need. And so that way you can make these cards right along with me. So today, this card is my Pressed Petals Daisy Lane card, and we're going to do it using Pressed Petals Designer Series paper, and then we're using crushed curry and blueberry bushel for our daisies. All right, so the card base on this is Mossy Meadow, and then I've made a trim using the Ornate Borders dies, this particular one. You could use a border punch if you didn't have this. That is out of Old Olive cardstock. And then the stamp set that I used is Daisy Lane. It has the large and the small daisy, and the coordinating punches I used in order to punch these little guys out. The daisy punch and the medium daisy right here. And then for my leaves, I did go ahead and use a leaf from the Daisy Delight stamp set, which also coordinates with the largest of the daisy punches. This one is retiring, so after June 2nd, you will not be able to get this stamp set. So just be aware of that. And you could always cut leaves off from this stem or use a stem. So there's always ways to make it work. You could even cut out the fern. But you will also need 3 ink pad colors for these 2 cards. You will need crushed curry, blueberry bushel, and Old Olive. You're also going to need the Stitched Nested Labels dies, and the one that I used is the 3rd from the largest. And then the mat behind it, I'll show you how we're going to do that. I did not cut another die. We just hand cut that one, and I'll show you how. So the Pressed Petals Designer Series paper is also on the retiring list. And it is in this catalog right here, Pressed Petals Specialty Designer Series paper. Gorgeous paper, and I am trying to use things up. So that is where I got that paper. All right, so let me get a kit out here. And there are kits available that I have made for you, pre-cut kits, and only while supplies last. So if you want the pre-cut kits, you can order them from my blog, regalstamping.com, and look for the post from May 18th, 2020, or click on the online classes tab, and you should be able to find information there as well. So our card base is Mossy Meadow, and it measures 8.5 by 5.5, and we're just going to fold that in half. And then we have a piece of the Pressed Petals Designer Series paper that measures 3 by 5 1/4. I have also cut the border from Old Olive, and it is 5 1/4 inches long, and I started with a 1-inch piece. And I just laid that die cut along the edge, ran it through the Big Shot, and got this. This will give me enough room to glue it behind the Designer Series paper. Okay, then we have this. If you order kits from me, you're going to get 3 long strips. This will be for the yellow daisies, this will be for the blue daisies, and then the centers for the opposite colors. So for the blue daisies, you'll have the yellow for the centers and vice versa. And then I told you that we did not need a die to cut the mat behind this. The vanilla strip that you're going to get in the pre-cut kits measures, so let me see, I forget what it measures. 2 1/4 inches, and all you will need to do, this is 11 inches long, so 2 1/4 inch wide, and we're just going to glue the old olive die cut to the center of it, center this way, get those borders even. And then we're just going to take scissors, and for long cuts or straight cuts, I like to use scissors that have a long blade on them. And then I just point the tip of my scissors where I want it to go, and I cut. And again, and I cut. And again. I'm trying to keep my head out of the video, so I may not be getting this perfect, but there are no perfection fairies when we're making cards. So no perfection fairies allowed. Okay, so in your kits, you'll have this big long piece because you'll be making 2 cards. So your other green piece will go here. That will leave you enough room for your leaves that we'll be stamping later, okay? So let's go ahead and set that aside. And I'm going to start by folding my card base and using a bone folder to give it a good crease. Then I'm going to take this strip and I'm going to decide which way I want my paper, and I think I'll go like that. I'm going to just put a line of glue down that strip and glue this on like that. Okay. Now, I don't know if you noticed on the sample, but I actually stamped Smile Friend, Smile Friend along the card base, along the fold here. And so to do that, I actually want to make sure I don't get too far this way. And so I'm going to lay this panel in here. I'm going to turn my card this direction, and I'm going to stamp the words with Blueberry Bushel. Now, if you don't want Smile Friend Smile, you could look through your stamp sets and find something different, or you could just leave it plain, but I thought it was kind of fun to add a sentiment along the edge. There's a new stamp set coming out. It's a pre-order right now, or a sneak peek. That's called Ornate Things, and these would be perfect for along here as well. But I am going to use Smile Friend Smile. Let me see if I can do this without getting my head in the video. I don't want to get the blue ink along the die cut border, so I want to make sure that I get that close enough to the fold of the card without going off, and I think I nailed it. Okay, Smile Friend Smile, and the beginning of friend again. If you didn't want that partial friend on there, you could center it and do Smile Friend Smile and just have that centered. But all right, now I am ready to glue this on, because I got that stamping done first. You could certainly glue this on before you do that stamping, but I'm always afraid I'll make a mistake, and then it's that much harder to start over if things are glued down. So I am having glue issues with it oozing out. This warm weather makes the liquid glue runnier, and so okay, now this is ready to go on here, and I'm just going to center it in that section of Designer Series paper from top to bottom and left to right. like that. So that does cover up a lot of those pretty blue flowers, but we're going to create some pretty flowers of our own. All right, so now we're ready to set this aside for a moment and do some stamping. We need the large daisy stamp and the small daisy stamp, and we're going to do blue ink on blue paper and crushed curry on crushed curry. So we'll start with the blue, and you want to make sure that you have 2 petals that are going vertically, because that is how the punch is designed and it will reach right in and grab it. Okay, if you have it off like this, then you're going to be going in at an angle, and sometimes that just makes it more difficult. So get 2 petals there going vertically. You're going to need 2 of the large daisy and 2 of the small. Okay. And let's clean those stamps really good. And let me get a clean washcloth here. Okay. Now I need my crushed curry ink pad, and we'll do the same thing on the yellow. And this, of course, is if you're making 2 cards, one with blue flowers and one with yellow flowers. If you get my pre-cut kits, you're going to have enough paper to do both cards. So that's what I'm showing here. Okay, now let's go ahead and close those ink pads while we do some punching. So to punch, you bring the punch in with the back side showing, so you can line up that image like that and then squeeze. So we have 1 flower punched out. We have 2. Sometimes those little edges get caught when you pull the punch out. All right, now this one's a little harder to see. And 2. Come on, let go. Sometimes you just have to grab it and pull. And then if it gets stuck in there like it did, you just have to dig it out. Okay, so that's using the big punch. Now we're ready for the little one. And 2. And save the rest of this paper, because we're going to need to do our flower centers here in just a minute too. And I'll show you. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and set these flowers out of the way. We'll get them all pushed off there. Okay, now we need centers. So for the yellow flowers, we need a blue center and vice versa. So we're going to use the crushed curry again, and we just need 1 center for the large flower and 1 for the small. So I'm just going to come in here, and all I'm really concerned about is getting that center on there. I don't need the whole flower. And same thing for that little guy. And then we'll do the same thing on the blue paper. Clean those stamps first. Okay. Just get that center in there. And the center in there. Now, you can fussy cut, or if you have small circle dies, you can find a die that will cut these out. I actually have 2 punches that will work. So for the sake of time for the video, I'm going to go ahead and punch. The largest one can be punched out with a 1/2 inch circle punch. The smaller one is a 3/8 inch circle punch, which we no longer carry. This one is on the retiring list, if I'm not mistaken. So get it if you need it. And if you don't have either and you don't have dies, you can always fussy cut, as I did on this card. So it is possible to do. You could even punch out the flower and then just cut the petals off. It might make it a little bit easier that way. I don't know. But this is how we're going to do it today. You could even find a small flower shape that would come in and punch that out. So look and see what you have that would work. And now we have our flower parts ready. So for the video, I think we'll go ahead and make the yellow flower card like this one here. And so what we need to do is put the 2 big flowers together, offsetting the petals. So 1 petal on this top flower, each petal goes in between petals on the lower flower. And I'm going to go ahead and use a dimensional between the 2 flowers to give it some depth. It will kind of create a shadow effect that gives it just a little more visual interest. So like that, and then this center will go in here. A little bit of glue. All right, we'll set that aside. And then the same thing for the little daisies. We want to use a dimensional, and for this one I'm going to use one of our mini dimensionals. If you don't have mini dimensionals, you can always cut one down from the larger ones. But these are so handy to have. I love having both sizes. Okay, we're going to get that one in there like that, and then we take this little center and we glue it on just like that. Okay, now let's bring in our card base, and these 2 flowers are going to go something like that, and you can pop those up or you can glue them flat. So it just depends on what you prefer, and I think I'm going to go ahead and pop them up. That way when I get the leaves stamped, they can just slide right under real easy. Okay, so I think I want that one right there. Another mini. And we'll go just like that. Okay, so now we're ready for some leaves. And remember that vanilla piece that we used to cut our mat out for the green stitched nested label? Remember, you would have one more cut out of here if you've got my kits, but you would have enough left over for your leaves. And so we are using the leaf that is from the Retiring Daisy Delight. This one has been around for a few years, so hopefully many of you have it, and you'll have that leaf. We're going to use the outline and the filler. The outline will be with Old Olive ink, first generation, meaning that you ink up and stamp. And I'll show you what the filler will be then. I'm going to pretend I've used up this piece down here. So I want to get 6 leaves on here, and by turning them stem to stem, I'm easily able to get those on there. For the filler, I'm going to use the same color ink, but I want to go a lighter, one step or shade lighter. So I'm going to stamp off. So that's my first generation of ink is now on my placemat. My second generation is going to be on the leaf. So you can see with one color of ink, I get two different shades, and that's called generation stamping. So second generation, you just have to remember to stamp off each time. And if you forget, it's not the end of the world. Just make another leaf. And this is very simple to line up because these stamps are see-through, also known as photopolymer. You can see right through and get them lined up perfectly each time. Now that is enough leaves for both of the cards that you would get in my pre-cut kit. And now we just need to do some fussy cutting. So I'm going to show you how quick and easy that can be. I'm only going to cut 3 right now. And it might be easier if I just cut the 3 I want away from the 3 that I don't for now. Okay, then it's just a matter of going up and around. I am not going to go in every little nook and cranny. I leave a nice little border so that there's some contrast. When we put it onto the card, that vanilla contrast will be nice to have because we're going right onto an old olive background. And we don't want our leaves to disappear. See how quick and easy that is? Okay. So now let's bring our card back in, and we have 3 leaves. You could always stamp and cut more if you want. Play with placement before you commit with glue. So I'm going to just see where I like these. Maybe like that. Do I want one down here? Maybe I want both of them down here. Just play and see what you think. I think for this one, I don't know. Maybe we'll just go in between the 2 like that. Okay, let's just do it. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on that, and then because these flowers are popped up, I just kind of slide it into place. And we'll go like that, and I think we'll go like that. Okay, just like that. Now our card is done except for the inside. Remember, if you have my card kits, you still have your blue flowers for the other card. Again, it'll look like this. And the inside, we need a crumb cake mat that measures 5 1/4 by 4 inches this way. And then a little strip of the same designer series paper that's on the front of the card. This is a 1/2 inch strip, and it does have 2 sides, so you can decide which side you prefer. And I'm just going to stick with the same side we used on the front, even though it has a very limited partial little bit of flowers on there. I'm going to get that straight. And then you could stamp a sentiment, or you can leave it. And I feel like with Smile Friend Smile, I think I'll leave it unstamped at this point. And then when I'm ready to use the card, I can stamp what I want to say in it. It might be a thank you, it could be a birthday, it could be a get well. So I'm just going to glue it in without stamping a sentiment. And voila! We have our pressed Petals Daisy Lane card. And there's both versions of it. And I am so glad that you joined me today. I hope that you are able to stamp along with me. If you need any of these products, please get them ordered from my website, KristaThomas.stampinup.net, and then click on the Shop Now button, and you'll be able to shop for everything from the retiring list to the clearance rack to current products. I will see you next time in episode 6 of I Miss Your Face, an online card class.